introducing our speakers today, but I've got a few words to say before we get to there. First of all, before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Warrandyte people, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. For those who don't know, our group Menzies for Palestine was set up back in October 2023. It's a loose collection of people, originally started by Palestinian residents of this area, of our municipality, people who basically were horrified at what was happening in Palestine, what the Israeli state was perpetrating. And we decided that we needed to do something locally. We felt that it wasn't enough just to go to Sunday rallies down in the city at the State Library. They were all good and well, but we needed to act locally and bring the message to people here in the municipality of Menzies, close to us. Our activity started with some vigils that were held outside the offices of the member for Menzies near the shopping town in Doncaster Road. They still happen most Fridays between 4:30 and 5:30, a vigil just outside his office. So please join us there if you can on Friday afternoons. Our group has grown since we've been collaborating with other local groups such as Whitehorse for Palestine, Neelenburg for Palestine, and Banyul for Palestine. So the activities have been growing over time. Today's rally is just the latest action. We hold these speak outs quite regularly in different points around the municipality, different shopping centres, where we invite speakers to come and speak to us about what they're doing to help bring forward Palestinian justice throughout the world. We've got flyers. Some of our people are handing out flyers today with contacts. So please grab one and you'll be able to connect with us and find out what we're doing in the local area. Today we have three great speakers to share their stories of their struggles for Palestinian justice. We've got Dr. Jordy Silverstein from the Loud Jew Collective, Mr. Amin Abbas from Olive Kids, and Mr. Robert Martin from the Handala Flotilla. The first person up is Jordana Silverstein, or as I said, Jordy, as most people know her. She's an award-winning historian who works at the University of Melbourne. She researches histories and memories of statelessness, migration, belonging, and settler colonialism. She's the author of numerous books and the creator and host of the 2024 Being Stateless podcast. Jordana is a member of the Loud Jew Collective. Please welcome Jordana to tell us about her experiences.
Thank you all for having me here. Thank you. Such a beautiful crowd here. I'm so honoured to stand with you. And I also want to start by acknowledging that we're here on Wurundjeri land, on Kulin country, and I pay my respects to elders past and present and to any Aboriginal people here today, and to First Nations writers, activists, poets, musicians, and all people from across the continent from whom I continue to learn so much about integrity, resistance, and endurance. Sovereignty has never been ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Always was, always will be.
Aboriginal land.
Always was, always will be. So as we said, I'm an anti-Zionist Jew. I'm a member of the Loud Jew Collective, and I'm here to stand alongside you all as we defiantly call for the end of this genocide, the end of the ongoing Nakba, the end of the supremacist system of Zionist rule, and for a free Palestine from the river to the sea. Too often, accusations of anti-Semitism are used as a tool to try to shut down people from speaking the truth about Israel's barbaric treatment of Palestine and Palestinians. But we must not allow that to happen. We must commit to not allowing that to happen, to not letting our boldness be stunted. And so I stand with you today in the pursuit of our collective truth-telling and the disruption that must come from that. As we know, it is not enough to just speak the truth, but we must act together. And this is why we gather here today. And this is why we must keep gathering whenever and wherever we can. So we tell the truth that this is a brutal regime of settler colonialism that stretches from these shores to Turtle Island to Palestine, all interconnected and all supporting each other. But like they hold each other up too, so too do our resistance movements. Like they learn from each other, we do too, but we do it better. Because we have justice and liberation on our side, and we know that we fight for a free Palestine. We tell the truth that this genocide of Palestinians is unspeakably, mind-bendingly horrendous. That every human is precious, every human is a universe with stories and connection and friends and family and history and love. And we here owe every human, every Palestinian in Gaza and throughout Palestine, we owe them everything. We know that those of us who aren't Palestinian have so much to learn about how to live a dignified life, how to resist, and how to describe, critique, analyse and fight against the settler colonialism that seeks to dominate Palestine and all of us. We must listen first and foremost to Palestinians. We must fight against the government and media, the universities and other institutions which seek to marginalise and eliminate Palestinians from our public sphere. We must refuse to allow that to happen. We must remain in steadfast relationship with our Palestinian kin, here and there. And so we call on governments, all levels of government and all people and all medias to do more than offer mere words and statements. Words now already far too late, but we need the government to immediately sanction Israel, to end the two-way arms trade, to expel the ambassador, to open the Palestinian borders, to end this genocide, to end the starvation, to end apartheid and to end the Nakba. And we know that this won't be done by them without us being active, that we need disruptive action. We need to break through to them and demonstrate that both the government and the media have responsibilities as humans to end this genocide. The situation is desperate and we must do what we can to meet the moment and what it calls upon from us amidst the horrors. So we need to raise the stakes. We need to implement BDS, that's boycott, divestments and sanctions. We need to end all relationships, financial, political, military, and any other form of connection with Israel. We need to do everything we can. We need to put ourselves on the line in whatever ways we can to collectively fight as hard as we can for a free Palestine, from the river to the sea. Because this is the fight we're in together, for liberation, justice, and freedom. That's how we all live together, not in bullshit racist ideas of social cohesion, but dwelling in the collective fight for freedom. This is what hundreds of thousands of people have rallied for and will continue to rally for until liberation. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the sea to the river!
Palestine will live forever!
Thanks.
Thank you, Jordana. I must admit that when I see and hear so many Jewish people speak out against this atrocity and for Palestinian rights, it really inspires me because it must be so difficult. I'd like now to call up Mr. Amin Abbas. Amin is a Palestinian activist and a founding member and chair of the Australian Foundation for Palestinian Children, Olive Kids. He writes on Palestine and has been published in mainstream Australian media. Please welcome Amin to come up and speak to us about his activities.
Thank you, Stratos, and thank you all for coming in not the best of weather, but although the sun is coming, you guys are the best, really, of humanity. I'd like to also begin by acknowledging the owner of the land in which we stand, the Warrandyte people, and pay my respects to elders past and present. For us Palestinians, this acknowledgement runs deep. And this land is unceded, and so too my own Palestine. These lands belong to the rightful owners, exactly like my own, every inch of Palestine. I want to also acknowledge the Menzies for Palestine, such a beautiful team of awesome people. And I also want to acknowledge the awesome speakers that I'm with awesome company. I'm really honored to be speaking with Jordy and Robert. For nearly 2 years, we lived through this horrific genocide. With every speech, you think, what more can be said? But then the crimes get more gruesome and evil, the pain greater, and the complicity more brazen. Our speeches are turning into another historical record, bearing witness to this slaughter in Gaza. This past week, it was Nasser Hospital. The journalists and first responders in Gaza are truly the heroes of our time. They were the prized target of Israel. They continue to do their work, exposing the genocide or attending the victims of the genocide, in spite of being victims themselves. Remember the names. We lost Anas Sharif and his colleagues only a couple of weeks ago. And today, we mourn Maryam Dakka, Muhammad Salama, Hussam El-Masri, Muaz Abu Taha, and Ahmed Abu Aziz. Were the 200 journalists killed and many hundreds of medical workers all mishaps? And whilst Israeli bullets and shells are silencing Palestinians in Gaza, Gillian Siegel's plans are to silence us here in Australia. So be aware of that. So today, I decided to offer you some takeaways from my talk. I'll cover 5 themes, and that I promise I'll be brief, but I would like you to reflect on them today. The first one is deception. And the best example of this institutionalized deception is the question of famine in Gaza. So according to Israel, the media is lying. Human rights organizations are lying. UNICEF, the World Health Organization, UN's World Food Program are all lying. But Netanyahu and his war criminals are telling us the truth. Israel's adoption of starvation as a weapon of war is not new, but months of suffocating siege, famine is now a new category in the daily death toll of Gaza. So there's people killed by bombs and people now on daily basis killed by famine. Tons of food brought at the border, international flotillas, of which Robert was himself, well, I'm sure he'll speak about it, are intercepted and confiscated, while Israel and complicit countries tell us that GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the death traps of GHF, in fact, and airdrops of aid, crushing people under them, are really the answer. So we need to start really believing that. And challenge narratives by the media and those in power unquestioned, by the way, in the same way that nobody questions why Iran would firebomb a small kitchen in Sydney or a synagogue really here in Melbourne when they have their own synagogues and a massive Jewish population in Iran. But we are not deceived about the famine in Gaza because we work in Gaza. Who knows about Elf Kids here? Put your hand up if you know about our work. If you don't, please check what Olive Kids does, because we have not stopped working since the beginning of this genocide. Working in Gaza has never been harder, but also never been more urgent. We have 2 projects as we speak, distributing food packages and meals. In fact, overnight, I've got updates about securing the aid, and luckily, none of that aid has been stolen, quite often sponsored and protected by the IDF. Those like thieves and thugs in Gaza are actually supported by the IDF. So the famine is real in Gaza, and the deception is very, very real here in Australia, and I want you to be aware of it. The second theme that I want to talk about is recognition, and I promise I'll move fast. This celebrated recognition of Palestine by our government is kind of celebrated as a great outcome, when in fact, for us Palestinians, it really means nothing. Self-determination is our inalienable right, not a charity from the West, nor bargaining chip, the way Starmer was suggesting. So don't be fooled. There's two other beneficiaries, real beneficiaries of this recognition. The first one is, in fact, is Israel. Examining the legitimacy of this colonial and supremacist state has never been more glaring than today. The Zionist founding fathers were proudly talking about their colonial project. It was called colonial project from the very, very beginning. So don't be fooled. And the West suddenly feels compelled today to give it a fresh dose of legitimacy. The long-dead two-state solution is nothing more than relabeling the current apartheid, giving Israel exactly what it wants. So this is recognition, is to help with that. And the second beneficiary really are the politicians, including ones in this country, Albanese and his like, who want you to believe that they are acting and believe that this is, nothing more actually for them than an insurance policy to protect them when the day everyone would claim to have been against this genocide. They will tell us they've done something. They recognize Palestine. So don't be fooled. The third theme I want to talk about, and Jordy is probably a better person to talk about this, is Zionism. It is a political movement born in the 19th century, and it's not the Jewish faith born 2.5 millennia ago. So conflating the two serves the former, not the latter. And of course, not all Jews are Zionists, and also not all Zionists are Jews. So like I said, Jordy is a better person to speak about this. And the fact that anti-Semitism is absolutely vile, but anti-Zionism is moral. To understand this, listen to scholars like Jordy, probably not me, and definitely not lobbyists like Siegel. But I want to say this. This November will mark 50 years since UN Resolution 3379. I don't think a lot of people know what 3379 is. It is actually a resolution that equates Zionism with racism. The world should consider reinstating, I'm not sure what he said, but he might have said go back to where you came from, which would love for that, exactly that to happen. So the world should consider reinstating 3379 if we're serious about equality and human rights for all, Palestinians and Jews in Palestine. It is 3379 that Australia, the UK, and Canada must consider in September. And by the way, if you've heard the news overnight, the US canceled all visas, including Mahmoud Abbas' visa to go to the US, which is fantastic. So that big party is not really going to happen by the looks of it. And just to be clear, Zionism is a racist ideology, and Israel is racist, supremacist, colonial entity built on the expulsion and colonization of my people. All tales of a land without people or making the desert bloom are not cutting it anymore. No amount of beautifying, colonization, and ethnic cleansing is gonna work. So please be aware of that. And the fourth theme that I really want to talk about is resistance. History teaches us that oppressed, occupied, and besieged people resist their oppressors. And Palestinians are no exception. Palestinians also did not choose their oppressors and will continue to resist these oppressors regardless of whether they are Jewish, Muslim, atheists, or aliens from Mars until they are free. And the fifth theme is solidarity. Palestinians don't need sympathy nor want to be the perfect victims. They demand our outrage, not our anger, our actually outrage. They demand our solidarity, our collective power. International solidarity matters, and the world is changing. I was overseas for a few weeks, visited half a dozen cities and towns, and in every single one of them, Palestine flags were everywhere. Free Palestine, or graffiti on walls everywhere, and protests in the streets. This week, Italy announced that it will arrest Netanyahu if he sets foot in the country. Netherlands divested from Israel. So things are actually changing, and we are changing the way world works. The protest on the Sydney Harbour Bridge changed the way Albanese and this government thought about the sentiment and support for Palestine. So what we are doing is working, but we need to do more. We want our government to do what? Sanctions. We want them to do sanctions, sanction the country. We want them to impose sanctions on the state of Israel, impose two-way arms embargo. No, this thing of, we are part of the F-35 consortium, so we're going to continue. Embargo means both implicit and explicit exports to Israel. Support full legal accountability for Israeli officials and dual nationals responsible for war crimes. We must demand this. And lastly, expelling the Israeli ambassador. We want if it's that easy to expel the Iranian ambassador with some, evidence that only Ezio knows about, it's very clear the genocide in Gaza, we all can see it. So expel the Israeli ambassador immediately. Now I want to finish with this. Now, our homeland is no stranger to centuries of conquest. We are used to it. Our current colonizers not only seek to uproot and genocide us, though, they actually want to be us. They love us so much, they honestly want to be us. They're stealing our culture, our hummus even, not just our land. But 100 years is not working. This whole theft is not working. Being Palestinian today is to be deeply rooted in our rights, in having infinite resilience, dignity, and power. Our colonizers will never be Palestinians, but you all can. So be part of the movement and free Palestine. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amin. That was fantastic. I will say something that's always impacted me. This equation between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. If we have to oppose one thing, we must oppose this, because this is the way they will stifle us. They will make us shut up and not be able to speak. If they equate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, we must oppose that at every point. I'd like to call up Robert Martin now to speak to us. Robert is a human rights activist. In 2014 and 2018, he went to Palestine and saw the brutal reality of the Israeli occupation and the apartheid state. In July this year, he was a crew member of the Handala Flotilla that we heard so much about, and which attempted to break the Israeli blockade and deliver aid to the people of Gaza. We asked Robert to come here today and talk to us about his experiences and how he can inspire us to fight for Palestinian justice. Robert.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? It's not a long one. You can. Thank you. I want to acknowledge all the Palestinians here. If you're a Palestinian, I apologize to you, and I know the rest of us apologize to you, because you've not only been ignored, but you've also been demonized for being colonized. You've been demonized for having family members executed and killed in different ways. I was in Adelaide on Saturday, and this gentleman came up to me and he said, "Rob, I really want to thank you for everything that you do." And I said, "Look, I don't do a lot. All I've got to do is speak. All the people behind the scenes do everything. So kudos to you." But this guy, he said, "Rob, I've lost 40 members of my family." There's a man in Adelaide walking around with the burden of 40 family members being executed, whilst we watch the news and Albanese wants to be praised for recognition of Palestine. That's offensive. That is totally and utterly offensive. Albanese should be sanctioning. We should be expelling, and everything that Amin said. That's the things that we need to do. And there's a few other things I want to sort of mention, and we're talking about almost 2 years. It's over 28,300 days since Israel started this against the Palestinians. It's not new. It's been going on a very, very long time. My best friend is Palestinian. He, for 10 or 15 years, told me about Palestine, and I never believed it. I'd go home and I'd see the news, and the news would tell me something different. And the news would always say that the Palestinians were terrorists, and then our government people would also use the same. These Palestinians are terrorists. And every time an Israeli was killed, they were just a loving father or a loving mother. And that rhetoric gets everybody that got me, and I'm sure it got a lot of you, and you've woken up since October 7. But the fact that October 7 happened, we can't blame the Palestinians for that. We have to blame ourselves. We need to blame ourselves internally. We need to blame our mainstream media. We need to blame our governments because we allowed it to continue. We allowed Israel to continue doing what it was doing to the Palestinians. We allowed Israel to steal, to execute, to bomb, to steal all of the land that they possibly could, and we would demonize the Palestinians. And that is our fault for October 7. We cannot tell an occupied power or an occupied people how to respond. We don't have that right. We do not have that responsibility. It's their responsibility and they can choose. I went to Palestine because I wanted to figure out the truth because I couldn't get it from anywhere else. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know who to talk to. So I went over there and I had some horrible scenes that I saw. You would have heard about Yaqub, who stood in the front of a house and said, if somebody doesn't steal this, somebody else will. Well, in 2016, I was at 2017, that's 2014, I should say, I was at that very front of that house and I met Mohammed El-Kurd, who was a 16-year-old boy, very, very timid, very innocent, didn't overly want to talk to me because he didn't know who to trust. I didn't believe that story could be true. I banged on that door. It was a renovation that was new and a redhead opened the door from America. The place was a pigsty. He was paid to come and be a pain in the ass. He was paid to treat the El-Kurds terribly because the government wanted them to leave. They had a dog and it bit Mohammed. Mohammed's family rang the police and said, my son has been bitten. Wait for it. They were told, don't call again. 3 days later, they rang up to see if the dog was okay. That is a story, that is a fact. I also saw a family whose 6-year-old daughter had been run over by an illegal settler, killed. Their daughter was killed. The settler today and the day after they ran over the Palestinian went home. No issues, no courts, no charges. I also had a haircut every few days, and it took a couple of weeks before the hairdresser to turn around and tell me that the picture on the wall was his nephew, was his barber's trainee. I said, what happened to him? And he said he was executed at the front door. At the front door, this is in Jerusalem. He got a letter apologising that they had killed the wrong person. But again, no charges happened. And this is a regular basis. People ask why I get involved with Palestine. It's because I've seen these stories. I cannot forget them. I would stand here for a week to go through them all. I went back in 2018 and I went to Hebron. And some of the things there, I was shocked. Issa Amro, he's an international, world-renowned advocate. He's Palestinian. We're walking around Hebron and this little kid about this tall, swaying like he owned the place. He had the religious things on him. Issa couldn't go any further because of the apartheid. I could go further. And this little kid started swearing in Hebrew. And I didn't know what it was, but I was told later that he was telling Issa that one day he will come upstairs and he'll kill his family. But then he high-fived the soldiers that were here. Now again, how on earth is anyone in that country going to stop doing things to the Palestinians when they are basically encouraged to do it? I'm banned for life, so I went, the Freedom Flotilla came around and I decided I was going to go on a boat to Gaza because it's the only way I could get in. And there's an illegal siege going on there since about 2005, which no food can get in. No food, no drink. It's been going on since 2005, not just the last 2 years. The day the ship was about to leave, we found a rope around the propeller, which does happen. But this particular rope was brand new and it floated, which means it had to be put there. Someone put it there. We also had a gentleman trying to deliver our fresh water, huge tank, really hurrying up. A bit spilt out and went over Tan, who was one of my comrades on the boat, on her leg. And it burnt her leg because it was sulfuric acid. These people will stop at nothing, for people to try and help Palestine. So imagine what they're doing to the Palestinians. We're at sea for 10 days. On the 10th day, we saw a drone. We knew something was going to happen. 10 o'clock that night, we were boarded by an elite 13 unit, they're called. They are also the same unit that went to Al Shiba Hospital and executed all those people. It's the same people. It's the same crew that in 2010 killed 10 people on the Mavi Marmara. They all got onto our boat. We had a live feed. They had 3 guns and some had 4 pistols, M16s. Once they took us, they then took us to their port. From their port, after treating us pretty badly, they sent us to maximum security prison. Maximum. Now, we were trying to deliver food, teddy bears, medication. That's what we had on the boat. Every country that the boat had been on had been checked, so it didn't need to be checked again. But the Israelis decided that they have to go through that boat and take everything out and ruin a lot of it. But the amount of money these guys will do to stop somebody like us to deliver food, it's sickening. It is absolute sickening. And every week we think that we've seen the worst of Israel. And every week we see something worse. The only thing that we can do, the best thing that we can do, and it worked in South Africa, and that is to boycott everything that Israel has to do with anything. We must boycott. We cannot help Israel out. They must be ostracised. They must be looked at as a pariah state, because that's what they are. We cannot do business with people killing children. You guys rock. You've come out. There's a lot of you because the weather's pretty shit out. But well done for coming out. And free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Thank you so much, Robert. It's hard to follow all those stories with anything, really. I think you'll agree that we have to thank Jordy, Amin, and Robert for coming here today to speak to us, but more importantly, for the work they do. That's what they need to be thanked for. Thank you. I just wanted to say one other thing about what's happening in Gaza. They keep telling us that it's all about Hamas. It's all about what Hamas did, and Israel has the right to defend itself. But when we look at what's happening in the West Bank and what has been happening there for years and years, it's nothing about Hamas. If it was about Hamas, why are they dispossessing Palestinians, killing Palestinians in the West Bank daily? That's not about Hamas. We know exactly what it's about. It's about Israel being used by the West to do its business in West Asia. And we see it now happening where they're getting ready to attack Iran again. Iran, which has never attacked Israel. Iran, which has over 10,000 Jewish people living there and have been living there for thousands of years in peace. And they want to attack Iran. And we've just expelled the ambassador here in Australia on a bunch of lies, which we will never find out any of the evidence, but we already know, because the Israelis have said it, that they assisted ASIO. Mossad gave ASIO information, and we're supposed to trust that. And on the basis of that, Albanese expels the ambassador of Iran. So what are they getting ready to do? I think it's quite clear for all of us to see. Friends, we need to get organized. We must insist that our governments at all levels are not complicit in the Gaza genocide and in any other wars that are being started all over the globe. We must insist our country is not a mindless follower into the wars that are being perpetrated and planned all across the globe. So what do we want? We want a ceasefire in Gaza immediately. We want aid into Gaza immediately. And we want to sanction Israel immediately in every respect, as Robert just said and as Amin said earlier. No more non-lethal parts, as Penny called them. Non-lethal parts that are going to put F-35s into the air to bomb innocent civilians. But they're non-lethal parts, she said. She had the gall to say that. Shame, shame. Please join us. We need to grow these organizations all over Australia. Join Menzies for Palestine. Sign up to our mailing list and get involved. Sign our ethical procurement petition. We have a petition going to try to insist with our council that they need to make sure their procurement policies are ethical in every way. Having said that, I do want to thank the council members who are here today. I think Mayor Diamante is here, and also councillors Eltaha and Mayne. Thank you very much for coming. Your support is very, very important. Finally, before I finish up, I'd just like to say we have one other very important activity we're doing right now. We're running a fundraiser for a family in Gaza. It's a way to get involved directly in helping Palestinians. Heba is a 33-year-old mother of 5 children. She lives in the Al-Mawasi camp, and she's been diagnosed with breast cancer. She desperately needs funds for her treatments, as well as food for her children and water. We've raised over 3,000 USD so far, but it's going to be needed regularly. It's not enough. So we ask you to please sign up to this fundraising action that we're doing. And if you can contribute on a regular basis, it would be fantastic, even a small amount. There's a QR code on the leaflets that we're handing around. So, to wrap it up, please keep turning up. The Palestinian people need us. They desperately need us. And you know, it's not just about that, though. It's also about our own humanity. It's about our own humanity. What are we going to be able to say about what we did? Did we turn up, or did we look away? Thank you for joining us here today. Our strength is in our numbers. Free Palestine. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you very much.